The fans can't know I'm blind. It'll crush them.
Every time.
Oh.
We're so vain. All these freaking fans.
Fucking Craig wears readers?
What? My mind
time
is
to find
blown.
a new podcast.
Don't meet your heroes.
this better air. This better air at the beginning now.
Don't meet your heroes.
All right.
You about Craig?
What?
He wears readers.
Three.
Just had
2.
septum surgery.
I was gonna ask you how that was. We'll talk later though. Are you feeling better?
I bet it's getting better. Better every day.
You just did the thing on basketball. You know what? He goes.
Such a great movie. Wake up, friend, or wake up, bitch, or my new best friend. I flipped the lineup. God damn it.
That's right.
Can we go to the zoo? No. Can't go to the zoo.
The Roadkill channel, like where it's fucking cars hitting squirrels and shit like that. And he's all, like fucking so bad. Aw.
All right. Final count. 3, 2. What's up, guys? Our wrestling podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious along with Justin Total Package and Craig the British Bulldog, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Today's topic, wrestling moments burned in our memories. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, can you give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019, or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. As soon as Jess sent this little topic, and it's very freeform, which I always like. I always think they're more fun. I got pretty excited. I did get pretty excited. This is fun. Jess, what are we talking about?
I don't know. There's moments of we've talked about it before. Everybody has core memories, whether it's like an embarrassing moment at school or an embarrassing moment in your life.
Sure.
You could totally remember something in your mind so vivid because it's either so bad in your memory or so embarrassing or so great in your memory. And then you can bring it up to somebody else and they're like, yeah, you were there. And they're like, I don't remember that at all. It's because people in your mind, you have core memories that just get saved. And it depends on how you process that memory. If you think it was super funny, but the rest of the room didn't think so, you might remember that for fucking 40 years. And then you could bring it up to another person that was there and they're like, I barely remember that. Wow. Like, and you're like, what? It's all I think about every day. Like, it's like everybody has core memories. Wrestling is loaded with them because it's a television product and it's even when it was regional and it tried to get you out to the house shows, there's memories that they wanted to implant in you that you remember forever. A lot of us have one memory that got us into pro wrestling. I told that on episode 1 about the match that I saw with Hogan and Bundy. And it's etched in my brain. It's what attracted me to pro wrestling. And then I was all about it ever since then. So everybody has a core memory or something that's burned into your brain from pro wrestling. And it could be a match. It could be a moment. It could be an angle arc. It could be, you could be ready. You could have been ready to leave pro wrestling and not watch it again. And you could have left pro wrestling for a while, like a lot of people did in the mid 90s. And then when the Monday Night Wars started up, people started coming back. And there was something that they saw that made them come back. I was like, oh, that I'll never forget that. That changed my mind. Or I knew something, or I knew that guy was over after that, or that girl was over after that, or I knew the tide was turning in the Monday Night Wars when I saw this. Not a WWE produced like what Tony Schiavone said, puts butts in seats. Because that's not a core memory. That's just something that they select and they want to say, like caused the turn of the tide.
They'll try to tell you what's a core memory.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things that like just happen organically in your mind. And some people notice it sooner than others. Some people it gets them. I'm still blown away to this day. Like during down period, when people tell me, oh yeah, I started watching wrestling in like 95, 96. I'm like, wow, that was a down period. That was like after the rock and wrestling era died.
What was
they were trying to find their voice. Right? Yeah, and they just got them.
I'm a big in your house guy.
I mean, really, there are some people that have their nostalgia is like, oh man, in your house is like, or part of my nostalgia when I was like a teenager was WCW Saturday Night. I don't know what it was about swimming outside in the pool during a hot summer day and coming in, and we had a swamp cooler in our fucking house. And I would go and I got the towel around me still, so I'm still damp or whatever. And I remember having to come in because I was like, oh, fuck, WCW Saturday Night's on. And I'd watch WCW Saturday Night. It's a core memory. That's like that's several memories. That's like a core memory. And then there's more specific ones that I want to talk about. So I've asked you guys to present 2. We could do 3 if we want to. Things that are just burned in your memories, core memories that you have from pro wrestling. You're like, I'll never forget that. It was just something that happened. It may have been a big event. It may not have been a big event. It could just have been something that you're like, that was really interesting and I'll never forget about it. So what sparked this though? I might steal one of your memories right now, but I'm going to give this one away. So what gave me this idea was on Twitter. I was looking at just random accounts and someone posted a video that they kind of redid of this particular memory. And they're like, I think about this. They said, I think about this almost every day. And I was like, wow. And it was the Monday Night Raw where Brett just lost a cage match to Sid. And they were taking the cage down. So of the 4 sides, only 2 sides were left up. Vince McMahon gets in the ring.
Yeah.
And he's like, Brett. And Brett grabs the mic from him, pushes Vince down. And no one had ever touched Vince and started cussing. This is bullshit. Like, I'm so sick of the goddamn injustice going on. I'm sick. Everyone in that goddamn dressing room knows I'm the best there is. And you guys turn a blind eye to it and all this crazy. And it is one of my core memories. It's not one of the ones I'm going to offer, but this sparked this episode. So this guy, dramatic music to it, and he turned it black and white and everything. He's like, I think about this every day. And I'm like, God, and that's got me thinking, man, how many of those memories
that particular person hooked from that moment. And that was
he saw it and it changed his life because and I remember that specifically. It's one of my favorite Raw moments that nobody talks about.
Frustrated over what has just happened. Whoa! Frustrated isn't the goddamn word for it. This is bullshit.
Oh, we apologize, ladies and
Screw
gentlemen.
me. Everybody screws me, and nobody does a goddamn thing about it. Nobody in the building cares. Nobody in the dressing room cares. So much goddamn injustice around here. I've had it up to here.
We apologize, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody knows it. I know it. Everybody knows it. I should be the World Wrestling Federation champion.
Get him out of the ring.
It really defined and began kind of part of the Attitude Era because he pushed Vince down. They acknowledged him as an owner. This is before Austin stunned him, before they did the whole Austin storyline. It was even before WrestleMania 13. It was like a month or 2 before WrestleMania 13. And Brett was getting raw and real. WCW was beating the shit out of them. So they were trying anything. And I'll never forget that. This half erect steel cage, they were taking down as Vince gets in there going, Brett, I know you're frustrated. And he pushes Vince down, frustrated, and the goddamn word for it. He's like, this is bullshit. And we were like, oh, I remember watching as a kid going, are they fucking just cussing right now?
When you think about it now, it's a complete work because frustration is the goddamn word for it. It's perfectly laid out. They knew exactly what they were going to say.
Of course. Of course.
Real. So
it was. And so that's what I want this episode, the energy I want this episode to bring, because I was like, oh man, there's a ton of those for me. I love those memories. They're my favorite.
Hey Craig,
so
I want to loop you in, buddy, and see if you have anything to add. But before we do, can I give you some of the casuals? I always pull in the family because they're not nearly as avid as I am on what they consider to be core memories. And I just realized that casuals definitely follow what WWE tries to consider a core memory.
But it's good though. It's because there's different there's different core memories for everybody. There's marketable ones.
So here's what they said was a few of them that were big for them. Titus's ring slip. That's a core memory for them. So because that's relatively new. My kids are young, by the way, so keep that in mind. For my wife, she loved the R-Truth 24/7 title run. That's her memory. She thinks that's hilarious. Pancakes, New Day pancakes was in their core memories, and I'm just like, we hated that, but the casuals loved it. Let's see what else we have. I don't think you guys will have this one. I hope it's not, but Finn Balor as the Demon is a core memory for some of them when he would do it, and he wouldn't do it all the time, but when he did, it was a big effing deal.
Right.
So they love that one. Brock's tractor was very recent, but that was for my son. That was a core memory. Brock's tractor.
going forward, that is in 10, 20
I think it's
years.
gonna be-
Someone might be
yeah.
like, I remember when Brock Lesnar drove a goddamn tractor down there. Like,
It was my highlight of last year. Like, holy shit.
It was
I posted
really
an
great.
Instagram to people that don't watch wrestling to be like, this is one of the, I've never seen anything like this in wrestling.
You have to watch it. Craig, what do you got to add, buddy? Sorry.
I have kind of a late stage core memory in my kind of wrestling fandom. Because I was a bit of a lapsed fan for a bit, but this is a moment in like my latest stage, I guess the last 10 years, when I think fondly of, and I think one of the reasons why I kind of got back in overall, but Bryan Danielson's retirement on Raw, and that's like 6 years ago, actually this week, when he tweeted in the morning about having to retire for medical reasons. They had the Raw in Washington. And then kind of, I remember that whatever that just that green flannel he had, the speech that he had, and that like the promo package that they had with that like Streets of Gold song. To this day, like those packages on that Raw when he retired, like unbelievable. And I wrote an Instagram. If I'm going to write an Instagram like post to like normies and people that aren't even in part of the sport, like that's another moment that I did. When I was like, you don't know what this guy did. Like they had to change plans for him because it was organic. And I just, that moment was one
true.
It's
all true.
I love that man. And that gets me every time. I teared up watching it again today. It was good.
But a week and a half ago, I took a test that said that maybe my brain isn't as okay as I thought it was. And I have a family to think about, and it is with a heavy heart and the utmost sadness that I officially announce my retirement. But if there's one thing, so I've gone through all these complex emotions in this last little bit. You know, I've been angry, I've been sad, I've been frustrated, I've been all of that. But today, when I woke up this morning, I felt nothing but gratitude.
Do you have another like more recent core memory before you get into the major ones like that, Jess? Because I have one more before we get into the
Go ahead,
the crazy ones. Oh, because you reminded me too, and this was also brought up in the conversation, but the Miz shooting on Brian on
Talking Smack. Yeah.
Talking Smack, that etched in hard, and that's fairly recent. That's not that long ago.
That's
But
good.
That promo
That's a
by
good.
Miz was a fantastic one, and I always think about that particular promo, which is so weird because we love Daniel Bryan so much, and Miz like carved him up. And it was kind of mean, but it was also Daniel Bryan said, I like the way you wrestle. You wrestle like kind of like a wimp, basically. And the Miz like just took it to the real, and it's an incredible shoot. You can see the reality that the Miz is facing, because there's a reason why the Miz has not been hurt and he's been around for so long. It's because of the way he works, and I think he just got fed up with, you know, the indie darling and phenomenon. And there's also a reason why Daniel Bryan had to retire, because he didn't really protect his body. Miz does. So there's two philosophies there that are colliding, and you can tell they really don't like each other. And it all came to surface. And that was a good core memory there. Watch that one on YouTube, or hear you don't have to watch it, you just have to hear it.
No gentle way to say it. To me, you wrestle like a coward. You wrestle like somebody who's afraid to get hit. Like
I wrestle like a coward.
You wrestle like a coward.
I'm the one.
If I were to create a wrestler who, to me, like embodies, like when I was an independent guy and I was thinking like, oh, okay, what's the soft WWE style? It would be that. WWE is transformed in the last.
Hold on. You had your chance to talk. You're the one that called me a coward in the wrestling ring. I'm the coward in the wrestling ring.
Yeah.
But let's talk about cowards for 1 second. Okay. The reason I wrestle the way I wrestle is because I can do it day in and day out all the time for 10 plus years. I have never in my career ever have been injured. I don't get injured for 6 months to a year. I am here each and every week But you sit there and call me a coward? Yeah. I'm the coward. Wait, let me tell you about a coward. Let me tell you about a guy who tells his WWE fans, the people that he loves, that he will be back. He promises them. I promise you, I will be back in 1 year's time to claim this title. But you didn't, Daniel, did you? But I'm the coward. I'm the one that doesn't love the fans.
If they would let me come back, I would come back.
That's a good one. What do you got, Jess? Sorry.
My first one, I always reference the Superstars of Wrestling that I tuned into, and it was Terry Gibb against Sam Houston. And then right after that, they cut to a package from the Saturday Night's Main Event that happened the week before. So this was on WWF programming as WWE Superstars, and it was Hogan and Bundy. And I got hooked from that point, but I never finished what that actually led to. That was the famous angle where they set up for February 5 main event, Hogan and Andre 2, where Andre came in there and all sweaty in his fucking sports jacket, and he choked Hogan, but the other way around. He's choking Hogan like this, and Hogan's facing the camera. And it's burned in my memory because that's when they emptied the locker room and they all tried to get Andre off him and they couldn't. And only Duggan came out there and hit Andre with the 2x4. The 2x4 broke over Andre's back. And then, right? Actually, no, he hit Andre with it. It didn't break. And then Duggan got on the outside because Andre just looked at him and no-sold it. And then Duggan hit it on the ring apron and it flew in the fucking crowd, the broke part of the board. It was crazy. And that's always been burned in my mind. This picture of the British Bulldogs, Jake Roberts, Strikeforce, Jim Duggan, all pulling. It's a famous picture of Hogan unconscious while Andre's choking him. And then like everyone grabbing his arms, trying to pull his arms off Hogan. And I'll never forget that. That's what hooked me as a wrestling fan. I was fantastic. Like, my God, like this monster is like choking him. And they did it so perfect. It's burned in my memory forever. And it set up biggest, to this day, the most watched wrestling program ever. Over 30 million people, main event, Hogan and Andre 2. But that clip from Saturday Night's Main Event is burned into my mind. Andre choking him and everyone trying to pull him off, and just Ventura and Vince just going like, Andre, didn't nobody could pull him off. And then after Duggan hit him with the board, Ventura goes, Andre just looked at him, and like he hit him with the board, and Andre just turned at Duggan and looked at him like, what? Like that.
Ventura was gold in those moments, by the way.
Yeah, it was just all done so perfect, and it was designed to capture young people, especially like me. And this guy that I just enjoyed watching in the match that lured me in was getting hurt, and that's why I loved Hogan after that, because he was the hero and he was the guy that you're supposed to cheer for. So it's burned in my memory forever, that image of Andre choking him. I'll never forget it.
That's fantastic. That's a good one. I thought for sure you're gonna be like Hogan slamming Andre. I'm like, God damn it, Jess, come on.
Show those hands.
Somebody's got to do something about this.
Look at the size of those hands. Hogan's out. Cover
Here
him,
come the
Andre.
British
Pin him and take
Bulldogs
the belt.
from the dressing room area. Andre the Giant. Here comes the whole army now.
I don't even know if they're going to help. Hogan is out. Hogan completely out. The JYD can't do nothing. Strikeforce hammering away on the Giant. Look at the tenacity of the Giant. They cannot get him off Hulk Hogan. Hogan down, out, choked out by the 7'5", 530-pound Andre the Giant.
No, I'm not that much of a homer. I'm a homer.
That's way better than the Hogan slamming Andre moment. I think that's a better burn memory. I think that's good stuff. Craig, you want to
go? Yeah, this is a micro moment, but I think one of these core memories is something that you could spend hours watching in your buddy's room on VHS and rewinding it. Every time you watch it, rewind it back and forth for this moment. And it's actually a moment we've talked about in the last couple of weeks, but I watched it back today in full. But it's Halloween Havoc, Vader and Cactus Jack. And
my God, of course.
It is that moment on the ramp towards the end of the match when they have had the biggest, toughest, most brutal, and also nonsensical rules Texas death match of all time. Both are bleeding. Ventura and Schiavone kind of stop commentating at some point, and it's so brutal. And then Cactus Jack is on Vader's back. Vader kind of falls backwards on the wooden ramp, and there's a certain sound that the entire arena makes in the thud of the wooden thing, where you just knew that he was dead. And Jess and I rewinded it back so often just to find a way, like maybe there's a way Vader shifted his weight. Like we just couldn't believe it was real. Like there had to be some way to gimmick it. But it's just one of those moments, that crowd, that sickening thud and that moment. Holy shit.
Vader carrying him back up to the runway, back to the graves again. Oh, falls back with him. Oh. Whoa. That was 400 and some pounds.
Yeah,
Watch out for Race, too.
He broke some ribs here. He had to break some ribs.
Dave, what's your memory?
I got a bunch, but I will see how far we go. But the first one that I really wanted to talk about, because I think it is one of my cores, and it's not as long as you think, but it is and it isn't. It's WrestleMania 19. I see if you already know where I'm going.
I know.
Yeah, you already know. Where Brock Lesnar in the main event does a shooting star press and breaks his own neck. I believe we were at Justice House, if I recall correctly, when it happened, and it scared the crap out of all of us. We thought he was dead because he landed so horribly. Still, to my recollection, still manages to get up and delivers an F5 to Kurt Angle, pins him, and I also believe that he was supposed to leave the ring after because Angle kept hanging around, and Angle's like, "What the hell are you doing?" You can tell that either Angle was supposed to stay and Lesnar was supposed to leave with the title, but Lesnar didn't go anywhere, and you can see the blood coming from Lesnar's like nose down to his lips, and
He was out of it.
He was out of it, and then you find out later that he doesn't remember like 30 minutes of it after it happening. Like he doesn't have any recollection of it whatsoever. It's just gone. His core memory is gone, but we all remember it because we saw it live, and we were not concussed and had a broken neck, which is really scary when you think about it. Because at first you're like, "Why did he do that? He's so big. He should never be doing that." But little did a lot of us know, before there was NXT, there was Ohio Valley Wrestling. He did that every night. He was doing shooting star presses like nobody's business.
Yeah.
He just wasn't supposed to do it because he was a big man, but this was a big moment at WrestleMania, and this was going to be how he ended the match. And probably after 25 plus minutes, he was tired and he under rotated and he broke his own neck. And to me, I always think about that moment because it was like such a, oh my gosh, it was so shocking, and it'll never leave my memory. It was, and plus I love both wrestlers. I'm the biggest Kurt Angle fan probably in the world, and watching that happen, and they were both kind of wrestling injured, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, I know Kurt was very injured. That's why he was.
Kurt was really messed up.
Yeah. So that's my first one that I definitely wanted to talk about. So that's the next one for me. So
this ain't Brock. Brock doesn't do. What the hell is this? What the hell's Lesnar doing, Cole? Oh my God! Lesnar went for the shooting star press, and Kurt Angle rolled out of the way, and he comes. That's it. That's it. He got it. No! He just got the shoulder up.
Who's got another one?
Jess has another one.
I have another one here too, and I think about this often for some odd reason. I love it when guys get made and like you realize, oh man, like they're gonna go places or whatever. And DDP, when he broke out and turned, like he was already face, but when he turned face against the Outsiders on that Monday Nitro in I believe it was January '97. And it made him a single star from that moment on. Like he could do no wrong, and he knew Scott Hall and Kevin Nash personally, and Scott Hall especially because DDP helped Hall get started. So Hall like paid him back, and they were flirting the whole time with trying to recruit DDP and the NWO, and DDP was like, kind of holding off or whatever, and didn't really want to commit. And then they did this angle where at the end of one of DDP's match, they get in there and they throw him a shirt, and they're like, put it on, and they were kind of bullying him to try to put it on, and he put it on. And then they all put the symbol up like it's like DDP joined the NWO. Scott Hall put his hand out to shake DDP's hand, and DDP pulled him in and hit him with the diamond cutter. And that whole place went insane. And he runs out of the crowd, gets up in the middle of the crowd, walks up through the stairs, stands up, turns around, and tears the NWO shirt off. And the place fucking exploded. He was made from that day on.
Yes! Oh, yes, that looks great.
Yes!
It's a fish. Hey! No, I can't believe what I'm seeing. You just made a big mistake, Dallas. No!
Man is out of his mind!
Then we started going through all those fun things of every week we'd see a different variation of the diamond cutter, how he's going to put it on a prelim or an enhancement talent. And it was awesome. And it built him to be the star. That moment, like made him. I don't know why it's burned in my memory. It's one of my fondest things that I remember about wrestling, because when it's done right and someone gives someone else the rub, it's just magic. And it created a new character. It was a WCW homegrown star. It wasn't someone that came from the WWF that already had a name. They built a brand new star. Like, and it was Hall that came up with it and just said, man, like, I want to give DDP, like, I owe him from the AWA. He was always so amazing with me. And then when he first came in WCW, DDP's like, I'll be your manager. Let me be your manager. You'll be a Diamond Stud. And he helped Hall. And Hall, when Hall came, you know, when Hall got super popular in with the NWO, he's like, we need to make DDP. Like, DDP can do it, because he knew his work ethic. He knew how dedicated DDP was.
Can we also say, like, over the years of this podcast, we've discovered how much kind of the ideas that Scott Hall had and what people would run with, and he had good ideas for people. He was actually very creative.
He didn't want to get on his bad side because he knew how to fuck with people too. But
yeah,
like,
he knew that. He knew how to
Hall
do
was
that
amazing. Yeah. He gave Sting the idea for the Crow.
That match.
And I'll let Craig have the last one before we go out, but also another one too. I should probably save all these because I don't know if we do a part 2. I'm going to waste all mine.
We should do more. Well, there's plenty.
Yeah, Magnum TA stabbing Tully Blanchard in his fucking head with the wooden chair in the I Quit match in the cage at Starrcade.
It was so brutal. Like, it was such brutality. Like, and it was all just selling.
Match, yeah. That match was like to this day, I watch that match and I love it. Like, Tully Blanchard is amazing. And at the end, Tully breaks this wooden chair and grabs a spike from it, and he goes to stab, and they're on the ground, and Magnum TA is holding it, and it's like a fucking movie where someone's trying to stab someone and they're pulling it off, and Magnum finally fucking gets stronger than him, knees him off him, gets on top, and fucking jabs it right into Tully Blanchard's head. And the way Tully Blanchard cut himself and the way the blood instantly started flowing, I was like, oh my God. And then he's like, yes. And he's just got this fucking, like, Magnum's driving it into his head, and he fucking quits. And I'm like, oh my God. That was like a memory that is burned in my brain.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, dude, that is so good.
Because that was before CZW. That was before like Thumbtack. That was the brutality of old school.
It was Crockett. It was NWA Crockett, and it was a Starrcade. And we were just like, I was like, oh my God. Like, and I rented it years because I didn't start watching wrestling until early 88. So like this Starrcade was what, 85? I think it was 85.
I truly hope this is not the last one of these episodes that we do.
But I think the wrong things live in immortality now. A botch will live forever. You know what I mean? It's like now, back then it was like storytelling, and it was like stuff that was like etched in our brains and done right. And I'm not saying it's all perfect, but yeah, I think nowadays, unfortunately, the things that live forever and memes or whatever, or GIFs, like, are just, it's botches, or it's this, you know, like there's not really like, something as a result of a good storyline is never celebrated like the way it should be. I don't think those stuff should live forever, not somebody fucking up a move.
Hopefully what we can say to close this out is that things like the bloodline and that kind of stuff will be a core memory. So Sammy hitting Roman with a chair will be a core memory for some kids
for somebody.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Maybe it'll change, man. Maybe it'll change. Otherwise, it's get off my lawn. So we'll see what happens. But
otherwise, it's my music was better and my TV was better when I was younger.
Well, that's true. Now 90s hip hop is better than anything else out there.
That is true.
Yeah. So for audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, can you hook us up with a follow Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019, or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. This is the O.W.P signing off. Have a good one, guys.